just kind of an opening statement, thoughts about Whitworth.
Sure, okay. Yeah, so for this week with Whitworth, certainly a balanced opponent. If you look at, I mentioned last week, I felt like Illinois College had some really top end talent. Maybe the depth of their team wasn't quite the same of ours. I think every week you keep advancing, now you're going to see deeper and deeper teams, and so Whitworth does spread the ball around a little bit more to more individuals. They've got a couple wide receivers that they really like that are making a lot of plays here in the playoffs. A couple running backs are spreading around too. A quarterback's a little more mobile and athletic maybe than what we saw this last week. And defensively, they have 39 sacks, and they've only played 10 games this season. So 39 sacks in a 10-game season so far. Their front four on their defensive line definitely causes havoc. They give up, I think, 98 rushing yards a game right now, so they make it hard to run the football. And kind of a similar recipe to us. You make it hard to run the football, get people to want to throw it, and then let your front go dominate the game. And so we're going to have to manage a defensive line that's been very aggressive. They create havoc and create turnovers, and obviously offensively they've got a nice balance between running and passing the ball, and have had a really nice season. And anytime a team beats Linfield out there, that's the team we've got some familiarity with out the Northwest Conference, and that's a heck of a football team. So that win, along with having a playoff win under the belt now, we've got a really strong team coming in here this coming Saturday.
Obviously, a team from another geographic area. On paper, not a lot of familiarity with the common opponents or anything like that. How does that affect the preparation as you get ready for the second round?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit like last week. Although Illinois College isn't out of our area, outside of our area, they are a team we hadn't seen before, and so it's kind of similar to last week in that nature that you're trying to figure out exactly, okay, who are these teams they're playing on film? What do they look like? How does that compare to what we've seen? But in the end, it still goes back to us, like we've been saying. It's about us, the whole nameless, faceless thing, getting our guys ready to play our caliber of football, and just knowing that, it's going to be a team that's going to have talent. Once you get to the final 16 teams in the country, one way or the other, you're going to be playing against top-end talent. And so, but like I said, we know Whitworth comes from a great conference and plays against some really good teams out there, and we know we'll have our hands full when they roll in.
It appeared you came out of Saturday's game healthy. Are you healthy for this weekend?
We're doing pretty well. Bryson White came out of the game early there with the ankle at running back. I think you will see he's working his way back here, and we'll see how things go. Obviously, it's early in the week to know enough about where he stands. It was nice to have Dawson Rudd step up and know that we got him back there, and also Ben Bryant back there to kind of fill in behind Turbo. And we've got a pretty good depth of running back right now. But besides that was kind of the major one. Everything else, the standard nicks and bruises after a game. So we're feeling pretty good about where our health stands right now. And actually, Cade Carpenter, one of our starting guards, was out this last week. He was kind of a game time decision. Decided not to have him go, and so this week he's going to be feeling good and ready to go as well. So we're getting back to full strength and looking pretty good from a health standpoint, especially this time of year.
Ben Bryant's one of those guys that I know has battled some injuries, especially lately here. Is he 100%?
Yeah, Ben's doing well. I think this is as good as I've seen him since we started the season. Obviously he had about 5 weeks there with an MCL, working his way back in through some special teams. We saw him play pretty well there at Nebraska Wesleyan at running back. And then Saturday, I think in the kicking game, the special teams side, we talked about the importance of special teams and field position in the playoffs last week, and I think we really dominated that aspect of the football game, and that made a huge difference for us. And so, Ben's feeling good, and he's got his skill set. Dawson Rudd has his skill set. Obviously, we know what Turbo's skill set looks like. So I think that backfield is going to be in good hands one way or the other.
You've been on the other end where you've had to travel out west to play an opponent in the playoffs. How difficult is that to do? Do you foresee for your opponent this weekend?
Yeah, I think the travel part, especially on a holiday weekend, makes it challenging for sure. I know that when we traveled, it wasn't quite the same in terms of that part of it. But we changed time zones to go over to Ohio last year. They're going to change time zones by a couple hours. Trying to navigate, get your team to the site, getting buses lined up, getting where they need to go, meals, hotels. There's a lot that goes into that, along with trying to allow your team to see their family maybe a little bit over a holiday weekend like this. So I can only imagine for them, they're going to have their hands full with that. But in the end, I think when you get to the stadium, you get the pads on, you get suited up, their kids are going to be ready to go just like ours will, and this is what they've invested so much time in over the last few months, and I expect to see the best Whitworth team that we could see rolling here on Saturday for sure.
Earlier in the season, the starts to your games were a little bit of an issue. You've seemingly gotten better at starting those games, especially over the last 4 or 5 games. What do you credit that to?
Yeah, I think there's a mindset to our guys right now that's like I've been telling them. I don't want that to be something that we do. I want it to be who we are, and so that's kind of been our goal, is to make that who we are, not just something we've done a couple times or we've done the last few weeks. That's who we are. We start fast. We play 60 minutes of football. And that's always been kind of like the motto even from the Coach Willis days, is start early and stay late. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do. We want to start early, get going, and we're going to stay the whole 60 minutes, and we're going to play our standard, our level of football, for that time frame. And if we can do that, good things are going to happen. I think the guys have bought into that, and I do think there's maybe a little bit. I think I mentioned at the time with our starts, maybe just the way that we were approaching things in practice at times this year. Maybe it wasn't the way it needed to be to get us out to that type of start, and I really feel like we've buckled that down, and guys are really competing, playing and play out in practice, and that's carrying over into Saturdays.
With the holiday this week, you alluded to it a little bit after the game Saturday, but what's your schedule look like leading into the game?
Yeah. So obviously it's holiday week for us too, like you said. So we've got a little adjustment to that, and so today, the guys are off. Tomorrow and Wednesday will be kind of a pretty normal day for them. They have class. All the meals are open. We can kind of do our normal thing on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then come Thursday, we'll try to get an early practice. Try to have them on the road between 9:30 and 10, leaving here in the morning. So 8 a.m. type practice. Get them with their families. If guys are far enough away that they can't get to their families, and we'll have them lined up either with one of the coaches or one of their family or one of the other families to get a nice Thanksgiving meal and be somewhere where they can enjoy Thanksgiving with their Wartburg family. And then on Friday, we'll try to get them back, mid-afternoon, have an evening practice like we normally would on Friday in terms of our walkthrough, and then roll right into Saturday and try to make it as normal as possible, even though it's Thanksgiving, and have them, like I said, come Saturday feeling like they've gone through their normal routine, and we can go out there and play our caliber of football.
So you said Whitworth's more of a balanced type of offense. Looking at that as a whole, is there one area that you're most concerned about than the other?
I still think, they're going to run the football enough to keep that balance. That's got to be a goal there. They do have 2 really nice running backs. I think in the end, they're going to want to be able to throw the ball and get explosive in the passing game, and that's kind of where they hang their hat. Some of their passing game is also going to be involved in those running backs and wide receivers, just getting the ball out in space quickly in their screen game. Like I said, they do enough things. Last week at Illinois College, you kind of knew who the number 1 target was going to be, and as you're planning for that helps a little bit. Where these guys spread the ball around, they will run it, they will throw it, they'll get it out quick, they'll throw it down the field. There's enough variety there that from a defensive standpoint, you got to be ready for a few different things. And I still think it goes back to what I've been saying all year for our defense. It's dominating the line of scrimmage. If we can win the line of scrimmage with our defensive line, get them to be one-dimensional, and then have their quarterback have to, kind of feel a little bit of the pressure like Illinois College did last week, that'll be a big thing for our defense. And if we can't, and then it's going to be a hard day for us, and they're going to be, moving the ball pretty efficiently.
I know you're a big controllables type guy. Obviously, Mother Nature didn't give you any issues last Saturday. This Saturday looks a little bit different. Do you take that into account in preparing anything, or is that something that you just don't want the guys to worry about?
We always tell them, hey, the weather's our friend. If it's 95 and sunny and humid and hot, good. If it's 30 degrees and cold and windy, good. That's kind of our approach. So, we're not going to do anything special necessarily to prepare for the conditions. Obviously, it's going to cool off, and I think the guys will be practicing, and some of that sounds like the winds are going to pick up here midweek, and so we're going to get all the conditions in practice built in for us. So whatever shows up on Saturday, I think we'll be ready for it. I do think it'd be one thing if our team didn't have the balance that we do, especially on offense. If I felt like we struggled to run the football, we might have to do a little bit more to work on throwing in the wind or figuring out how to handle the cold. But I feel like whatever the conditions come that day, like our offense can handle it, our defense can handle it. And, having the running game we do, some of the things that Nile can do, throwing the ball, getting out quick, I think he can cut a ball through the wind as well as any quarterback I've seen. And so, I just feel pretty confident that, however those conditions go, we'll be able to manage them and be effective out there. And that's what you got to be able to do if you want to be a true playoff team.
Do you guys feel like you have an advantage in any area going into this game after watching the tape?
Yeah, I mean, I always believe in our front. I mean, that's one of the areas that I think on both sides of the football that we've really established ourselves up front. I think our defensive line is playing about as well as we've had a defensive line play since I've been coaching a defense here. I think it helps when you have Owen Grover at the mic because he makes up for most everything else. And I think on offense, if you look at the way our offensive line is clicking right now together, both protecting Nile. I mean, we're, I think right now 7th in the nation in fewest sacks allowed. And then we just rushed the ball for 300 yards in the opening round, and you got Hunter Clausen behind that group. I just feel like the fronts right now is where our advantage has been, and I think it'll continue to be here this Saturday. At least I'm hoping, because that's how our team is built, is to win up front, and that really opens up a lot of other avenues for you to become explosive on offense, to take away the balance of the opposing offense, and that can be a big factor in a football game. It also, I think about this last week, when you're in the post-game conference, you don't talk about it probably quite as much. You haven't had a chance to analyze what all happened. But just looking at the time of possession this last week, too, if you look at our fronts, we had the ball for 35 minutes. Illinois College had the ball for 25 minutes. Man, if you do that, I know they were a fast-paced offense, but they weren't clicking for a lot of first downs because they couldn't run the ball. And when we had it, we could. And when you can control the ball, control the field position the way that we did, I just think that's got to be an advantage that we got to keep going moving forward. So I'll be looking for our fronts to really continue to be the difference maker.
In the passing game, another solid day from Carter Henry last Saturday. You look at his best career performances, they've usually come in the postseason. Last year, Mount Union, up at St. John's. What has allowed him to be that big-time player in the big-time games?
Yeah, I mean, I think Carter Henry is a big-time player all the time. I just think when you have Hunter Clausen, you don't always throw the ball as much as maybe some other teams do. So that's one of the guys, they were certainly, we did a really well in the all-conference voting and all that stuff. I think our team was well represented, but that was one of the guys that I really think, obviously his statistics may not look like some of the other teams that throw the ball a lot more than we do, but we know what we've got in Carter, and that's exactly what I told him after he scored that first touchdown. I said, hey, you're first team all-conference in my book, buddy, let's go, keep it going, and that's what he is. He just makes plays when you need him to, and that's what we need, because people are going to, at some point, try to pack the box and stop Hunter Clausen, and it's been tried so far. I don't think it's been done quite yet, but at some point, somebody's going to find a way, and so you need some people to step up, and Carter is one of those go-to guys. As soon as we need a play in the passing game, he's going to be one of the first guys you look to, and he's had that talent all year. We saw it last year, like you said, in the playoffs. We've seen it in the big games this year, and that's what I mean. I think a lot of times, in those bigger games, people are maybe a little bit more aware of Hunter, or able to maybe control him a little bit better. And when we need Carter to do that, he does it. So he's a great kid. He works his tail off. He's as good a representative as we got in our program, and he can make plays, and I got all the confidence in the world in what he can do.
If they find a way to stop Hunter, you've got Dawson Rundown that came out, had a breakout game, interesting on Saturday. Having a guy like that in backfield, just expand a little about having that luxury.
Yeah, Dawson, what a day he had on Saturday. And we, same thing, we knew what we had with Dawson all year long. I think he's just gained more and more confidence week in and week out. Certainly what the guys did up front for him to open up some space and some holes that he took advantage of was really impressive. But yeah, just having that depth, having him, now that he's played, we played 11 games, you're no longer a freshman at that point, He's far enough along in his career here at Wartburg. He knows the expectations, he knows the offense, and he's showing that, and showed that on Saturday. And we're going to need him to keep doing that because, you can only do so much Hunter Clausen before he needs a little break. And so having Dawson do that, knowing what we have from Ben Bryant, hopefully at some point here, getting Bryson White healthy and just trying to, keep that backfield to a point where we've got guys that when Hunter goes out, we can still hold the standard. And then like I said, it doesn't hurt to have Nile McLaughlin at quarterback and a group of wideouts that I think, again, is underrated just because they don't get noticed quite as much because our backfield is so talented. So, I think you're going to see more and more of the depth of our team as we continue to move further into the playoffs here, and that's kind of what showed up on Saturday. As soon as he needed a play from somebody other than Hunter, they can make it. It's just a matter of when those games come and when those guys need to make those plays, they'll be ready.
Do you think we'll see more of like Ben and Dawson in the backfield, depending on how the game goes, or is it a situation where you've got to get that whole separation? Yeah,
I think you're going to see more of them no matter what. You got to get Hunter in and out of the game. Obviously, there's certain situations where you got to have Hunter out there. Your game's on the line, or you're in a situation where you need a guy to churn out 2 or 3 yards, get your first down. It'd be hard not to put 24 out there. But yeah, those other guys, certainly we've got to be able to mix them in. if we want to make a run like we're talking about making, you got to try to keep Hunter as healthy as possible here in the postseason. And so trying to limit what we can when we can, that would be great. But at the same time, we know that these games are all going to be a challenge from here on out. So you're gonna go with what got you here too.
You touched on Nile. From the outside looking in, he's just as steady Eddie of a kid as you want to see. First of all, is that true? Second of all, what do you credit that to, if it is?
Yeah, he's steady, and I think it comes from it's a quiet confidence. Nile's not a big like we've talked about before. He's not a big outspoken guy, but he does have confidence in himself. He knows what his ability is, and I think it also goes back to him trusting the other 10 guys in the field with him. I mean, he's got a true belief that whoever he throws that ball to out there, they're going to make the play. Okay, if he's going to drop it back to pass, he knows his O-line's got his back and they're going to take care of him. He knows he can hand it to Hunter at any point, and that's a good option too. And so, I think he's got that going for him, and he's just a winner. He's a great person. He's a great kid. That's one of the things too. Like I said, you kind of hit the nail on the head here with two things that I would like to get out there. One, that we have wide receivers that are all-conference performers in my book, and two, that we have the best quarterback in our conference, and I think one of the best ones in this region, and maybe the best in the country. I mean, he's 24-1 in his career as a starter at Wartburg. I mean, I don't know what else you got to do to prove that, like you said, that you're steady Eddie, that you're a guy we can count on. And I think that's a lot of times people get hung up on passing stats and all these different things. We've got a guy that's the most efficient passer in our league, averages more yards per attempt than any kid in our league, and he's won way more games than the other guy in our league. So to me, I would take that over a guy that throws for 3,000 plus yards and all these things, and just having a guy that is going to win you football games and you can trust. And that's what we've got in Nile for sure.
24-1, is that good?
That's not too bad. If we can continue to find quarterbacks that do that while they're here, we'll have a nice little run going. So yeah, we're gonna. When he's gone, he's gonna have some big shoes to fill. There's no doubt about it.
Is Whitworth a traditional power?
In that Northwest Conference out there, that they are usually the number 2 behind Linfield, and this year they got over that hurdle. Certainly, they've always been a strong team. Like they've been in the playoffs here in the last 5-6 years. It's tough to get as we know, 2 teams from one league into the playoffs, and they've always kind of had that hurdle of getting over Linfield. And this year they were able to do it. And that, like I said, that catches your attention right away. Linfield's a top 10 team in the country year in and year out. And so anytime you can do that, and they did it at Linfield, where they don't lose games at Linfield. And so, Whitworth played a great game that day, played to their strength, were able to, like I said, on defense, make it hard for Linfield to run the football, and offensively make enough plays to win a football game. And so yeah, they're like I said, they're a team that has had plenty of success over the years. Maybe not the household name of a Linfield in Division III football, but definitely one that if you think about the Division III landscape, is going to be a team that's competitive year in and year out and getting it done. So yeah, there's no surprise that they are where they're at, and they've done a great job this year of getting their team ready to go.
If I'm not mistaken, you said Saturday that Illinois College got your last 3 regular season games for you to scout. So how's that worked out here in the second round? Is still the last 3 you played, or did they get to look at like now 4 games?
Yeah, so it's the last 3 games that you played. So now you exchange the first round playoff game and the last 2 of the regular season. So Linfield was their final game of their regular season. So we got that one. Then they played George Fox the week before that. And then their playoff game against Chapman would be the 3 that we're able to view and see and learn a little bit about their team from, which we're all, really competitive teams and really competitive games, which maybe it's a little bit different than what we saw last week from Illinois College and kind of how their last 3 games went. So we've got some good film to work off of, and they will too. Obviously, they get our central game, and they get our playoff game from last week, and so I think both teams will get a pretty good depiction, a good view from those 3 games of what the other team looks like.
When does that exchange take place?
Right away, basically right after the game on Saturday, as long as the other team is communicating. It should be done by Sunday morning for sure. But this week we were able to get in touch with them and kind of sort out what we needed to get exchanged, and we had everything in by Saturday evening, and so Sunday we're able to get to work. And actually, when you only have 3 games to break down instead of like 9, and by Sunday, my wife was shocked last night that I actually got home before midnight, so it was kind of cool, so, but no, that's, like I said, you get that stuff going a little earlier, you get some time to get it done on Sunday and get a little head start, and it's always better to have more information on a team, but in the end, there's a few trade-offs that are positive, I think, for the coaches health and well-being as well that come in the playoffs too. So.
And caffeine budget too.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's no doubt. You know, we should probably have a Diet Mountain Dew deal for our coaching staff. I know Katie Jo probably sees in the office area there's that stuff's rolling through there at a pretty high rate. So I don't know if anyone from Mountain Dew is watching, but if they are, we'd love to get a deal going.
Chris, when you decide which 58 guys suit up this week?
Yeah, so we will make that final determination earlier this week because, with Thanksgiving happening on Thursday, so we will probably finalize that here. We'll see, kind of get through tomorrow's practice and see where health status is at with a few of these guys that I mentioned that are maybe have a little bit of question mark. Once we know what that looks like, I think it'll stay fairly similar to what we did this last week, with the exception of if we have an injury, we're gonna have to make a decision on that. So yeah, once you get to this point, you made some pretty tough decisions in that first week, and if you can stay healthy, then those decisions kind of stay pretty standard. But I'm sure there'll be a couple tweaks this week just based on a couple things that happened in the game.
You mentioned the performance of your offensive line. You've been able to keep that going throughout a couple of injuries that you've dealt with. What do you credit that continuity to when you didn't have the same 5 guys out there, but the performance stayed the same?
Yeah. I mean, it was impressive. I think first and foremost, start with their position coach. Luke Summers. Coach Summers is about as even keel of an offensive line coach that I've been around. Some of those guys can be pretty intense, and don't get me wrong, he'll get them going, he'll get them rolling, but he's very even keel, laid back, helps those guys work together. He's done a great job too, I think, throughout the year of when we've been rotating a lot of old linemen in and out of games just to keep that experience going, to get guys cross-trained, to maybe handle a couple different spots in the old line, knowing that at some point up front you're gonna deal with injuries. I don't know if there's a place in the country right now that doesn't have an old line situation. You play that many games up front, it's a physical game, and so he's done an awesome job of managing their reps, of getting them ready to go, preparing them. And I think there's not another room on our team where if I brought somebody in and I wanted them to get in a room of a position group and feel like these guys are going to take you in and make you feel like you're welcome and they're going to love you up, that's the O-line, man. They have got a bond in that room that I don't know if there's another one on our team that's like that. And so I think they really care about each other. They got each other's backs, and so they know the next man up is going to be ready to go, and that next man up knows that those guys care about them, they have confidence in them, and that's what I think we're seeing right now is a combination of great coaching, of a group that's very tight-knit, and we got some pretty nice talent in that room too. And so yeah, we had with Ethan Stockwell out for the season, as I mentioned last week already, as a right tackle. Nathan Lorenzen's done a great job filling in there. Jason Koopman came in this last week to fill in for Carpenter, and those two guys didn't really miss a beat out there. So, now Carpenter can jump into that mix, and, we've got a pretty nice little group going there, along with Brant Peterson, who's a fifth-year senior. It's kind of nice to have a swing guy like Brant that's been around here for that long that can play guard or tackle and move around. And so we got a nice group there that I think, just like I said, meshes very well together, that Nile's got confidence in, that I know Coach Wheeler's got confidence in as well. And so, again, that's been a strength of our team.
Good luck Saturday.
All right, thank you.